Protests against inequality in Chile are in their third week. President Sebastián Piñera is resisting calls for him to resign. At least 18 people have been killed, hundreds injured, and more than 4,000 detained since these demonstrations began. For more on what's happening in Chile, we reached Guardian reporter Jonathan Franklin in Santiago. He has more on what the scene is like there.
Well, you can see in my eyes, I just got tear gassed, and I'm actually holding the camera running around because the protesters have decided to storm the financial heart of Santiago, including a building called Costanera Center. So there's hundreds of riot police trying to keep the protesters from either taking over or torching or looting this massive mall. So it's pretty chaotic here in the center of Santiago right now.
And what was the scene like when you were tear gassed?
They have a little truck they call the Skunk, and it drives around an armored like little tank that just shoots big like a hose full of tear gas on people. There's thousands of people running around the streets here. We've got about 1,000 injured on each side, about 1,000 injured police and about 1,000 injured protesters, which is completely off the normal. Chile's a generally extremely peaceful and non-violent country, but things have gone totally haywire.
Mm-hmm. How does this experience compare to what you've been seeing on the streets?
It's really crazy. By day, it's often beautiful. There's all sorts of cultural town meetings. Thousands of people are gathering to discuss the Constitution. And at night, it's like Blade Runner or Mad Max, just looting and arson. And so it's really an insurrection. This is a rejection of the entire Chilean political class. The president's approval rating is 9%, and there's basically no politician over 20%. It's just, there's a complete rejection of the political class here that it's quite remarkable.
I want to talk to you about what might help end this, but we did speak to you before, and there was a lot of violence on the streets. We're seeing interactions between protesters. We're seeing some tear gas being thrown in the footage that we're showing as well. So can you bring us up to speed on those interactions, the conflict that you've seen on the streets between these people who are so upset and authorities?
Basically, it's like these regime changes when you see, for example, in the Mideast, like, they're toppling all the government statues. There's really kind of a claim for Sebastián Piñera to step down. That's not likely to happen. This is Chile, where institutions were quite strong. But think about something like the Catholic Church. 20 or 30 years ago, the church would have been a major player in this social upheaval. Now the church has no voice. We may also be finding out that the institution of politics, the political parties, the Congress, the president, really don't have much of a voice. There's a massive call. Some 85% of Chileans want to write their own constitution. So it's also a very interesting experiment in democracy that we're seeing. And it's got ugly edges like the violence, and it's got beautiful moments like the culture and the dancing. And it could be historic in that the Chileans are trying to find a way to create their own constitutions and their own democracy with a new constitution.
So how would you characterize how both sides are handling things?
Terribly. It's like watching. It's very distressing. For example, to watch in the Congress, the left bashes the right bashes the left. Nobody seems to put the country's best interests ahead of anything else. Very, very petty. Even the human rights groups, vying for who can be more famous on TV. It's really disgusting kind of in the streets. But when you scratch that surface, there's tens of thousands of people having town meetings, debating the Constitution. Chile is going to make some sort of history here. The question is, which way is it going to end up? Which way do you think it's going to end up? I think it's going to end up with the fall of the president. I wouldn't have said that a week ago, but I think the president will fall and they will have new elections. Yeah. What signals that to you, Jonathan? Sorry, you're being drowned out. Can't hear anymore. Things are starting. I think we have to cut out now because things are starting to get ugly again. Okay, we appreciate this update, Jonathan. We hope you get better from that tear gas. Guardian reporter Jonathan Franklin joining us earlier from Santiago, Chile.